public hearing for zoning amendments MBTA overlay district and move to later in the meeting the public hearing for 256 Beach Street, 516 and 584 Taunton Street residential subdivision, the public hearing for Park Place subdivision major modification, and the new public hearing for 256 Beach Street and 584 Taunton Street senior living community.
So moved.
Second.
A motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Mr. Boissy.
Aye.
Mr. English.
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence.
Aye.
Mr. Maloney.
Aye.
Mr. Orban.
Aye.
Mr. Woodhams.
Aye.
Mike McKnight, aye. 7 in favor, no one opposed. Motion carries. So it might make sense to start off with how the subcommittee did, or some update on the subcommittee. Rachel, unless you've got another way to move through this.
I think having the subcommittee start with a recap would be fine.
Okay. I guess I'll start. So we started with going through the unfinished items that had been we had started working on with the questions that people had on the draft bylaw. There were still some points toward the end that we hadn't had a chance to talk about as a full board. So the subcommittee went through them all. Accepted some, didn't accept others, kind of modified a couple of them, but we did get through all of the comments that everybody had made. Rachel made appropriate notes, and that developed into draft number 5 that we just received an email the other day. There was one thing that got left out as far as it was just something in the design standards, but I think Rachel was going to add that in and have that here tonight so we could just see that last little piece of it. But we got through all of the questions and all the suggestions. Hopefully everybody had a chance to reread draft number 5. I looked through it the other night. Like I said, everything looked like it was all completed as we had discussed, both as a full board and the final few pieces on the subcommittee. And then we had a discussion with Jerry McGovern and Michael Smith regarding outreach. So we're still on the schedule, I believe, for next Thursday. There's going to be something, and then December 5th there's Wrentham. Remind me of the name of the group. It's Wrentham Informs or whatever.
Engage Wrentham or something like that.
Yeah. They're going to be having a focus group at the library, I believe. So they're looking for volunteers from the public to pose some questions, and they'll hopefully be able to get everything answered that night in anticipation of the December 16th town meeting.
The question on, you mentioned a few dates. The one that I know about is there's a scheduled, I believe it's I think it's going to be Chris Gallo from the Board of Selectmen, either the town manager or acting town manager, and myself at a cable 8 to tape kind of the message from the town in those different aspects. What is it? Is that the one you're talking about, Chuck? Or are you talking about something else?
That's the one. I think that's scheduled for next week. I believe the 13th.
Wednesday from 2 to 3:30.
Right, and then on December 5th, the group that Jerry McGovern is doing a focus group at the Fisk Library. Basically a sort of public forum, not like the full forums like we had with the town center zoning, just because it would be kind of hard to coordinate that in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
But his whole goal is to get information out in a objective format so people can, get their questions answered as best they can, get access to all the information, and hopefully come to December 16th town meeting with a good idea of what is going to be before them. It's going to be it's going to be a long presentation regardless, I think, at town meeting, but when between that forum that you guys are doing next week with the Board of Selectmen and the focus group, we're hoping that, and getting things out on the Facebook groups and Cable 8, we're hoping to get information to as many people as we can.
Okay, and I think there's also I don't know what final form it's in, and I don't know if you do, Rachel, from Amanda putting out kind of the perspective on, I think she's gathered information from you on what the bylaw is. We've sent her the deck on, I think, and we can go through this as to what we plan to present as to what the planning board process was, what our guiding principles were, how we ended up where we are. So I think there's information being publicized there too. Hopefully that's all in concert and together, and it might be good to put Jerry McGovern in touch with Amanda or Kevin Sweet's office just to make sure that we don't have conflicting messaging out there. But
Yeah, Wrentham Engagement is the name of the group. I'm looking at their Facebook page now, and there's something on there from today, actually. Submit any questions for the town educational segment about the MBTA community's multifamily overlay district by tomorrow. So they are trying to get, they announced it last week right after our meeting. Gave people, about a week to get their questions in so that they can have a chance to get the answers.
Rachel, is that the same request for information that Amanda at the town hall put out, or is this different?
I do not know. I'm not involved with the Wrentham engagement stuff, and I'm only peripherally involved with what Amanda's doing. All those items, flyers, have final sign off from select board, not myself. So essentially I've given them the website where the information is, and that's
Okay,
as far as my involvement has been.
okay. And we can go through afterwards our comms, our one kind of our simplified version of planning board process and how we got to the sites that we selected and why after we go through the rest of the document.
Mike, during that meeting, I had offered to, if you would like to just kind of have a second set of eyes on the presentation. I don't know if you're the one who's going to make it at town hall or whatever. There were some comments about the deck and just the number of slides and the amount of information on the slides, etc. And if you want to just have a quick call, we could, I could just kind of pass along some of those ideas to you, see what you think about them. I would in no way ever disparage your presentation skills. But if you'd like, I'd be happy. I had offered the subcommittee that I would do that, and so
Okay.
here I am.
And hopefully it's the same deck that we're all talking about, which is what I want to make sure that
I'm quite certain it is.
Okay, good.
Yeah. One of the people that was there brought up the point that we want to be cautious when we're doing the presentation before town meeting, that the projected images are not overly wordy, because people will get so wrapped up in trying to read that they won't necessarily listen to what's being said.
Mhm.
That was one of the suggestions. Maybe take the same thing, but larger fonts, fewer words per slide, give people a chance. So make it a little, so that each slide was a little easier to digest on its own.
I am absolutely welcome the opportunity to have somebody help put that together. So there's a way to do it, and then there's a way to voice over it in the presentation. So I think that's valid. It does show a lot of words. Yep. Happy to take the help on that.
All right. I'm ready to make a motion if you're ready to hear it, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Has everybody read the last draft? Any further comments to it? And I guess before you make that draft, Mr. Lawrence, is there anything that we need to add from Mr. Tellerman's perspective before we vote on the actual bylaw that is going to get that we would approve, and if it's approved by the town, would get recorded as the final document?
I would love to hear from Mr. Telemann.
And then we're missing in that we should add, annotate, Mr.
So,
Tellerman.
I reviewed the bylaw and it's gonna also get reviewed by the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. I mean, I'm not seeing any flaws structurally in it. So, I mean, I've reviewed dozens of these for different towns. Folks have approached it a different way. I think I kind of like a lot of including a lot of the design elements here, I think was a really good move for you all. I mean, I'm happy to answer questions about the process, but nothing is sticking out at me as something that needs to change. Rachel and I talked about a few things, so like contingency plans, if people are concerned about the status of what's going on with the Milton case. What could we do then? I know that she had informed me of a few other discussions in and around some potential amendments, but the bylaw itself as drafted, I think is nicely done, nicely put together, pretty straightforward, hits what they require us to hit. Um, so I'm happy to answer questions about it, my perspective on it, how far we can go in particular areas, but I have no quarrel with the language.
Good. Everybody else feeling the same way? I know we had some offline without breaking open meeting law, dialogue. Don Maloney, you had some thoughts, and I think we went back and forth. Hopefully, you're okay now on whatever the final draft is versus maybe what we were chatting about.
Yeah, I think, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the consideration. I think it's fine. But my only question was, do we need to require electric vehicle charging stations and bicycle storage? But if the committee thinks we should, I'll go along with it.
Yeah. Good. Okay. All right, Mr. Lawrence, I think the floor might be yours if you're so inclined.
So, I move that we accept the draft of the current zoning bylaw and recommend positive action on it at the town meeting.
I would say just adding the two sections that Chuck was referring to is the only thing that's changed in this new version. And there are two provisions that exist in your Route 1 bylaw under your design guidelines. And it's just making sure that it keeps the New England type character and then roof form, which again are already in your Route 1 zoning. So I don't see the state taking issue with that because they exist elsewhere in your bylaw.
So was there something I should add into the? Oh, did those changes not make it into the final version? Is that what you're saying?
Correct, because I didn't want to send too many versions out and then get it confused. So I can share right now.
Yeah,
That's
if you have
the
a new
only thing
date,
that changed
Maybe,
on those.
why don't we discuss that if the motion makes it?
What you're seeing in red is the only thing that's been added from the versions that you have in your emails. And again, these are two provisions that already exist elsewhere within your zoning bylaw, and that's in your Route 1 design guides, design standards.
Good.
and is this a new version that we can set a date to and a version number on?
Yes, this is version 6 and it has a date of the 5th.
Would you like to amend your motion to include those, Mr. Lawrence?
I would love to. So amended.
All right.
I will
the-
second Mr. Lawrence's amended motion.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the bylaw as written and to recommend favorable action at town hall. Do we have
Right.
any town meeting? Sorry, town hall, town meeting. Do we have any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Mr. Boissy,
Aye.
Mr. English,
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence,
Aye.
Mr. Maloney,
I,
Mr. Orban,
Aye.
Mr. Woodhams,
Aye.
Mike McKnight, aye. 7 in favor, no one opposed. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
move that we close the public hearing for the MBTA Communities MCMOD.
Second.
Second, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Mr. Boissy,
Absolutely. Aye.
We can still talk about the communications, yes, even though it's outside of the public hearing on this.
I would expect so.
Yes.
okay. I was just gonna ask that same question, so I didn't want to get
Right.
into a situation where we couldn't talk about the deck that we're gonna present and all that, but. All right, Mr. English,
Aye.
Mr. Lawrence,
Aye.
Mr. Maloney,
I.
Mr. Orban,
Aye.
Mr. Woodhams,
Aye.